Good morning from ATM again. Very pleased to welcome Mr. Amir Golbarg, Senior Vice President, Minor Hotels for the region, for the MENA region. Thank you very much for being with us. Sustainability, we are in the year of sustainability. You come from Copenhagen, Denmark. What are the best practices, the interconnectivity in terms of practices, the global practices and the regional practices? And what can we learn from each other?
I think what's absolutely fantastic now to see is really the evolution of sustainability in this region and the support that we're getting on a government level to evolve in this space. You know, this is something that's very dear to us as a company. It's at the DNA of our existence. I think for Minor Hotels, since the inception of the Anantara brand 22 years ago, this was a major focus for us. And I think when you look at the sustainability aspect, what for me is very important, and that's the big element out of Europe now that is really evolving into the Middle East, is the full circle of where sustainability sits. I think where people historically have looked at sustainability is a very simple elements. It's looking at plastic and straws and those elements. But for me, to create a circular economy, you have to look at the full cycle of tourism, from the financing side, where now us as a publicly listed company, you know, when you look at financing new projects, that's a big component of that. You know, companies that are financing and they're investing into tourism now are looking specifically at what initiatives are you taking, what commitments do you have as a company, and what are you doing to make an impact. And I think for us, you know, we've committed ourselves to Dow Jones Sustainability Index, we've committed ourselves with the FTSE for Good, we've put commitments together towards our net carbon zero. So those are things that in Europe have historically been triggered, but here now it's hopefully coming out.
As you know, Dubai just announced mandatory energy reporting for hotels.
Absolutely.
Which is a big step, no single doubt. But also we're having the greenwashing across the world.
Yes.
So how can we avoid and how can we have optimum energy reporting?
I think for me, the evolution of technology is absolutely critical. And that for us, you know, I always say, historically, we've all spoken about sustainability, but our measurement and measuring tools have been insufficient as well. In hospitality sector, you know, we always mention that we're sustainable in one way or the other, but when you look at how are we actually managing in terms of measurements, KPIs and goals, that's where everything has been wrong. We've actually started mandating in our KPI level since 2019 that we have energy as an energy, waste management and water as one of our key measures and matrices. And you can only do it when you can measure it. And now we have the tools to measure. We look at it we can do it basically through our BMS systems on property. We can measure every single occupant guest. So when we look at cost per occupied room, now we're looking at energy per occupied room. So we can measure the consumptions, we can measure the measures that are taken by the hotels, and I think the elements that are now growing is for us not only reporting to the government but also to our own board, to our stock exchange, and having those technological tools makes a difference. I think.
Okay. Yeah. Food waste, yes. The region is amongst the world's highest, how, especially in hotels.
Yes.
How can we curb that, especially with all those buffets and weddings and all around?
Again, I think, you know, technology has been a big supporting point for us, but I think what's really a big impact is when you start measuring and you look at, it's a very simple element of planning your business well enough. You know, we saw last year, we invested in digester machines in our company. So one of the properties I put in an example is the Anantara in the Palm. It's looking at the whole cycle. Number one, looking at, are you supporting the local farmers and are you buying local? Importation of food and food waste is a big problem. You know, historically, the luxury was associated with importing the beef from Australia and looking from foie gras from France. Now, A, you got to go local, support the local community. B, the whole cycle of managing the process of buffets and managing, and I'm not saying I'm against it, of having buffets, but you have to manage your waste controls better. And for that to be done properly, you need to also look at the full cycle. So when we invested in a biodigester, for instance, in the Anantara Palm and in the World Island, we have seen now a 62% reduction in waste just on the food side. We've seen now that we're able to full cycle and create grey water out of our food waste that supports our fertilizing of new plants. So we have created a circular economy around food waste by looking at some of the new technologies and opportunities that are available for us.
Yeah. Literacy and knowledge, skills of sustainability within the tourism sector remains scarce in the Middle East.
Yes.
What are you doing as a group?
I think, you know, it's a very long-term educational process. You know, obviously, as most companies have done, they've invested in having a chief sustainability officer. We have one as well. But I think what we also have looked at is on property levels, we have individuals that are responsible for sustainability to educate our team members. You know, you have to work ground up. You know, our biggest problem, I think, across the industry is the concept of sustainability is focused around one or two things only.
Absolutely.
Which is the tick boxes of
implementation. That's the real challenge.
That is the biggest concern of our industry.
We can plan the best plans in the world.
But you know, the beauty of sustainability is when you look at sustainability as a whole, if you make a sustainable economy, if you look at the sustainable cycle of, you know, earning, burning within the same country, that's a big element. And I think during the last 2 years of COVID, this has been the greatest catapult in support because we've gone from global to local. By default, because of borders have been closed, because we've had issues with importation of goods and services. So by default, we've had to go local. And to be sustainable is to go local as well. And I think that has helped us trigger that from a logistics perspective. And through that process, also then we've been able to educate. However, I fully agree with you. I think the fact that this forum has focused on sustainability has helped us. But I think we still have a way to go to understand that sustainability is not plastic straws and waste. Sustainability is an economy that needs to change. So when you look at an entire circular economy and that you're producing, consuming, wasting and recycling within the same geosystem, then you have a sustainable way of running your business. And I think for us, hospitality is one of the biggest contributors in both elements. And we have to understand that with the contribution we make, it's also the responsibility we have to give back as well.
Mr. Amir, thank you very much.
No, my pleasure. Thank you.